For you folks that are just joining today, I'm Brendan Reed. I work on our product marketing team. We've got the wonderful Elise joining us today, who will be giving us our demo. We've got a ton of content planned, so I won't spend too much of our time covering this deck. I think we're just going to jump right into the demo.
Great. Again, my name is Elise. Great to meet all of you guys virtually. I'm one of our product support managers here at Houzz. So me and my team work with all of you guys to help support questions and things that you need on the software. So today I will be covering the 3D floor planner, tips and tricks, and a great new video on a new feature we just released, the power of the client dashboard and how you can keep your clients really involved in the entire process of the project, time and expense tracking and best practices there, as well as the timeline, our task feature, and then running some of our key financial reports that we have here on Houzz Pro. So to start us off, we are on the Houzz Pro homepage. So to start with floor plans, under the menu here at the top, you're going to see the design section where we have both our mood boards. Of course, we have our trade programs and the idea books you guys have built, gathering those inspirational photos for your clients, as well as our floor plans. So if we click into our floor plans here, you're going to have the main page of all of your floor plans, and these can be for any of your projects. So you can see there's a great tutorial here if you'd like to watch that. You can start a brand new floor plan, or you can work off of any of the floor plans that you have built already. So using, let's say, I'll use this basement addition as an example. This is one that I've built previously. It has some preloaded parts in there, furniture already listed, and you can see on the floor plan, you have the floor plan view, which is the 2D, more graphical view where you can see a lot of the measurements as well. The dollhouse view, which is actually a 3D view, just like you're looking into a dollhouse from above. So you can see what that inspiration, like Brendan was saying, giving that client really the visualization of the end result of that project, anything from adding furniture and products to paint colors and flooring and much more. And then there's the walkthrough view, which I'll scroll out a little bit here. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's like a virtual walkthrough of that space that you can send over to your client, again, to give them a really great picture of what the end result of their project is going to look like. With this floor plan, I know I've already built this out, but I'd like to kind of start one from scratch so you can see how to build this from start to finish. So if you're on a desktop, you can create a floor plan through the first window that I was in by clicking New Floor Plan. And that will take you to this page here where you have the standard measurements. You can actually change pretty much everything on this floor plan. Whatever you're highlighting in light blue is going to be what you're updating. So if I click on this wall and I actually want to make this room a little bit wider, we can drag that out. There we go. Same thing on this wall. You can drag that out farther. And then once you're clicking on the wall itself, you'll notice a lot of other editing tools here. You can change the feet and inches as far as the length of the wall. You can also move up and down, apply this to the end of the wall only, or this option is applying those changes equally in both directions on the wall. You can also switch what side of the wall, either inside of the room or the outside, and then the thickness of the wall as well. So lots of customization right from here. And then to get back to that main menu, you just click out on the X. And let's say you see all these structures here. You can add doors and windows and staircases, and we add to this tool all the time. So if you ever see something that you're like, that would be a great addition to the floor plan, let us know, because we add to this feature a lot to include as much as we can to customize these floor plans. So let's add a door. We're looking at our 2D products right here. So if we were to add, let's say, an 8-panel door, that's going to populate here on the floor plan, and we can move this around and you'll see the dimensions change as you're dragging and dropping the product or the structure within the space, and it will snap to the wall, and then there the measurements snap to the wall as well. Once you have it placed, you'll notice some of these actions. You can either flip the door either way, opening either direction or opening out or in. Let's say this is going to open in, and then you can duplicate if there happens to be another door and delete if you added it by accident or don't need it anymore. And again, when you're highlighting whatever you're adding to the 2D view, it's going to give you customization options. So you can change the dimensions. You can even select the finish. So if we wanted to, let's say this was chocolate brown, and go as deep as selecting the hardware. So let's say I'm going to go with satin nickel for this door. So those are selected, and we've got our door here. Let's look at windows. And I should call out too, you can also change the ceiling height. If you have a client who has a relatively tall ceiling, this is where you'd be able to adjust that, again, right under the structures tab. So under doors, we're going to have more options. Let's put in a window. Let's say we have a slim French casement pane window. And I'll put that on the opposite wall from where the door is. Again, you have those dimensions adjusting with you in real time. And same thing, you can adjust the dimensions here on the window to be specific to your client space. Let's add one more thing from structures. Let's say we want to add a fireplace. This was a highly requested feature to be added to the floor plan from our professional community. So glad to see we've got these in here. Let's do a fireplace with a mantle. And I'll put that on the opposite wall over here. Let's say we're going to do it there. And again, you can change the dimensions. And you'll notice it's sticking out in the middle of the room right now. But if we rotate it, we will be able to rotate that and then snap it to the wall correctly. Perfect. And if you're ever wanting to just kind of see at a glance what this looks like through the process of building a floor plan, I recommend going to the dollhouse view and just kind of checking your work. So you can see where the door is, if that looks good to you. If I'm turning it around here, you can see the window. Maybe it needs to be a little higher up on the wall. Maybe there's more space of the wall underneath the window. And then I mention this because the fireplace, sometimes it could be turned the other way. So you want to make sure you're reviewing and that the front of the fireplace is placing forward in the room. All right, let's go back to the 2D view. So click out a fireplace here. And again, lots of other great tools in here. You have wall partitions that you can add. There's staircases that you can add as well. And there's all different types of shapes and curves and options for staircases that we're continuously adding to. Next is under products. So this is where you can be really more specific and more intricate within the floor planner tool. So let's say I have a fireplace here. So let's say I'm working on building a living room out. We have these separated by like spaces of the room. So we have living room, furniture. Let's say I want to add an accent chair. And again, these are just the 2D views currently. And again, it's giving you those dimensions whenever you're moving a product around. We can rotate this. Maybe I want it to face the fireplace. And let's say I wanted to add another chair just like this. I can duplicate that chair and then move it here. And let's say I want the chairs facing in like this. Can rotate that to the right. And there we go. We have our two chairs. Nice little seating area in front of the fireplace there. And as you'll notice, up at the top here, it's constantly saving for me. So you'll always have the day and the timestamp of when your floor plan was saved. And highly recommend also naming it so it's unique within your list of floor plans on that first page. So let's say this is going to be sitting area with fireplace. Again, you can name that whatever you'd like. And we can adjust the measurements for the chairs too. So if you have a specific measurement or maybe it's a custom product, you can adjust these here on the right. And then there's lots of other great living room furniture in here. There's a chaise, there's club chairs, a little bit larger. There's a bookcase. Maybe I'll add a bookcase on either side of the fireplace here. So again, that's facing this way currently, but I can rotate it and make sure it's facing forward. And then what I'm actually going to do is duplicate that again so that I can have one on the other side of the fireplace. Have that over here. And this helps. You see how I have this slight space in between the fireplace and the bookshelves? Having those dynamic measurements allows you to make sure both of these are equal distance from the fireplace on either side. So lots of great products in here. This is just the living room, but we have closet storage, bedroom furniture, heating and cooling. So if you wanted to add things like a baseboard panel, radiators, these are things that we've added in recently as well. Curtains, so lots of great stuff. Home gym equipment. We're trying to make it as robust as possible so it's an accurate depiction for your client of all the work that you're going to be doing on their space. And lastly, but probably my favorite part, is the source tab. So this is where you can actually pull products from the Houzz marketplace and our trade program. These are all products that, instead of being a 2D model, are actually going to be the realistic product in the floor plan because they've been 3D modeled already for you. So let's say I'm going to look for an area rug to go right in front of that fireplace area. You can just quickly search, and you can add a ton of filters in here as well. Different types of rugs, doormats, thickness, pattern. So again, you can get very specific here and filter by what you're looking for. But just the basic filter of area rugs turns out 5,300 results. So lots of options there. Let's go with this one right here. I love the pop of color. And you can resize this as well, but let's say I'm going to place that right here. All right, so you notice that I'm adding a lot of products in the 2D view just so I can see how it's looking in the graphical view, but I will toggle back and forth between the dollhouse view to see what that looks like. And so far it looking good. There's the bookshelves we added, the fireplace and the chairs and a nice little seating area. Now from the dollhouse view, the really awesome feature in this piece, not just seeing it, but is being able to add paint colors and flooring to make it even more realistic. So you'll notice on the flooring here, when I'm hovering over it, it's giving me those diagonal lines. If I click on the floor, that will actually allow me to add flooring. So let me go back a step here. Oh, there we go. So when you click on the flooring again, it'll have this select flooring option. This will also pull from our products via the trade program with Houzz. So we've got wood, tile, and tons of carpet options. So you can search easily within all of these sections, but let's go with wood and let's do maybe a hickory plank. Now, once I enter the floor, if I click back out of the library, there's the floor I selected. It also lets me change the grade of the floor, the plank size, and the rotation of the floor. So if I wanted it to go a different direction, maybe say I want to rotate it 90 degrees, that will adjust for me and it'll go the opposite direction. So flooring, lots of options there. Again, it just makes it so much more realistic for your client to be able to envision the end result. And then lastly are paint colors. So similar to the floor, when you're in the dollhouse view and clicking on the walls, let's say I'm going to do like this wall as a feature wall. Once you click on it, it'll allow you to adjust the wall dimensions again, but you'll now have the select paint color option. So when you do this, you're going to actually be able to toggle between two really popular paint brands, Benjamin Moore or Sherwin-Williams. And these are all of their paint SKUs throughout their entire line. So let's say I'm going to go with a brighter color. I can look by this kind of color wheel right here. And let's go with maybe Victorian trim as this wall. And there you go. Add that pop of color, kind of matches with the area rug, and you can continue to do that on all of the other walls here. So again, very well-known paint brands and lots of SKUs here for all of their color swatches to pick from. And then again, just recalling the walkthrough view, wonderful way to show your client like, hey, I'm entering the space, you're walking in, here's kind of the sitting area that you see, here's the paint colors I'm envisioning, and of course you can continue to build out the floor plan to your heart's desire. There is wallpaper and tile options that we are currently working on being able to be applicable to the wall. That's not currently live right now though. Before I leave the floor plans and go to the video of an additional awesome feature within our app for the floor plan tool, I just wanted to call out some of these actions. You can undo actions. So if I wanted to undo and remove that paint color, I can also redo it if I want to add it back in. Actions up here allow me to create a new floor plan from this view as well, duplicating, deleting. You can also print these out now. And then there's, of course, links to our tutorials and our help center right there for you. Now, when this is all ready to go, you click share and you'll be able to share this link, copy it, and either send it over via a message or via email to your client. They can pop that open and be able to see, again, all three views, the floor plan view, the dollhouse view, and the walkthrough view of what you put together for them. So really cool feature to be able to share that digitally too. I'm going to open a quick video here because this is a new tool. It's been around for a couple of months, but we just revolutionized our AR feature within the Houzz Pro app. So this is something you're going to see when you have the blue Houzz Pro app and you're utilizing the floor planner tool. This is a really realistic way to scan your space and be able to pick up on all the nuances of the corners of the room or the furniture that's in the room, and be able to then upload that to our floor plan tool to further edit and get creative on desktop. So I'll play this for you guys. There's no sound, it'll just be a quick video of what this looks like. So you can see we're scanning the space. It's capturing with that LiDAR technology using lasers, all of the corners, cabinets, the furniture in the space. And then it creates this wonderful floor plan that's very accurate. And again, you can choose to hide the furniture or keep it in the space. If you have a client who Maybe they have some furniture they really love and they want to integrate it into their new space. This is a great way to be able to do that, both 2D and 3D versions.
Hey, Elise, I will say one thing just so folks know like what this is available on. That's our mobile app. So use your phone to scan the space. You do need to have an iPhone 12 Pro or newer, or the 4th generation iPad or newer. Those are the phones that have LiDAR built into them. So just the caveat, but it's really awesome. I was using it last week to scan my space, and it's so quick and it's so accurate. It's very impressive versus, probably in the past having to go in, take measurements by hand, creating it in the floor planner. I mean, it is a big time saver.
Yes, definitely. Okay. That is the floor planner tool. I love playing around with this. It's such a nice way, again, for you to start visualizing what you want your client space to be. But at the end of the day, a construction project that may take 6 months, it can be hard for the homeowner to envision, like, what is my space going to look like once all the construction and dust and stuff is everywhere? So this is a great way for them to see, like, look, this is all going to be worth it because this is what your new living room sitting space is going to look like once we're done with the project. All right, I'm going to navigate back to the homepage of Houzz Pro. So you can just click the Houzz Pro logo in the top left, and that'll take me back to the homepage here. I just wanted to call out quickly, this may have been mentioned in other sessions this week, but you do have a lot of quick actions here that you can take right from the homepage. So like creating a lead, creating an estimate, doing a takeoff, invoices, time reporting, which we're going to cover today as well. The floor planner tool is here too. And then this is a great call out, just how to get started with Houzz Pro. It's a really nicely kind of drawn out way to navigate through the key areas of Houzz Pro to utilize when you're newer to the software. So great activation flow right here.
Hey, Elise,
okay.
We're getting some more questions about floor planners, so I just want to clarify some things.
Sure.
You can scan a space on an older generation iPhone and an Android phone. The LiDAR component, so the laser measurements, that is only what's available on the iPhones that support LiDAR. So the net is you can still scan with your current app on an Android phone or an iPhone. That's totally fine. You just won't necessarily be able to do the LiDAR scanning unless you have a phone that supports it. So yes, you can still scan a space, still generate a floor plan from that scan. It's just the LiDAR component that is only on those newer phones.
Thanks, Brendan. Yes, good point to clarify. You do still have the feature with the non-iPhone versions that he just mentioned. But okay, let's navigate into our project section. So we're going to get into the client dashboard next. So you have in projects, all of your projects. You can also look at recent projects, which I'm going to call on my friend Bob Ross here to go through his project today. So I'll just select him from this list. And when you're within a project, the overview page is going to give you a breakdown of everything going on with a project, quick access to documents, again, quick create functions at the top, the client details, the project details, any messaging, tasks, which we're going to go through today as well. But I do want to call out before we go to the client dashboard, inviting subs or vendors is something you're able to do within your build software. So that allows you to collaborate with a subcontractor you're working with on a remodel or a vendor you work with consistently, and you can give them access to certain parts of the project. So if you click on this button, you're going, and I have a subcontractor example in here already in my account, but you can invite subcontractor vendor and you would just need to enter their details, click next, it'll take you through the following next steps. And once they accept that invitation, they will be, for subcontractors and vendors, specifically invited to this project. For team members are actually invited to all of Houzz Pro, so they can utilize Houzz Pro based on the permissions you set for them. But again, subcontractors and vendors would be for this specific project that you're inviting them to. Just wanted to call that out first. Okay, so lots of things you can share with the client. You've got your messaging history, a timeline of events for that project, whether it's install or pre-construction, estimates, of course, any financial documents from estimates to invoices and change orders. I do want to call out with the client dashboard, you're actually able to preview it before you send it to your client. So you can be sure that everything you have in the dashboard you're happy with and you want the client to be able to see. So if we look at what I've got for his project set up currently, it's going to open up the dashboard for me. And again, this is my preview. So I'm signed in as a professional. This is not something my client sees yet until I share it with them. So on this homepage here, I've got my professional business logo. So it will be branded. Here's my company information on the bottom left as well, so they know it's coming from your business. You can send a message directly, and that will actually take you to the messaging piece of the dashboard. It's also got the client's address here on the right. So if we go back to the homepage, you can see I have an open document here, an estimate that I sent, and I'm waiting for approval on this. So a really nice part of the client dashboard is instead of waiting weeks for your next meeting or trying to get like a physical signature on something, using our estimate tool and using e-signatures and online payments allows your client to access these digitally and complete approvals or paying documents right from the dashboard and from the documents that you share with them. So you're not wasting time waiting for those things, and they can do that in a digital world. Timeline is here as well. Again, each of these sections has their own little menu on the left. Any attachments, these are some takeoffs that I've done for this client, and then daily logs. So again, this is just a preview of what this looks like. Until you share it, you can either decide to email it or you can share the link. And I like that they give you the option here to show specifics on documents, what you want to actually share. Total outstanding invoices, total things paid, any retainer balances they might have remaining, any available credits. And then again, if you're sharing via link, you should turn that link sharing on. And this is the link you'd be able to send to your client. The other way to do that is via email. And again, you have those options of what you can share and not share. And then you'd enter your client's email. You can CC anybody. So maybe like their partner or your business partner or project manager, whoever might be working on this with you, customize the message to them and then click send. And that way, anytime you're in Houzz Pro in the project, which I'll show you in a minute, you'll be able to, in real time, update your clients so they feel like a part of the project and like they're partnering with you, and they're not having to call or text you a million times or follow up on a 30 email thread. They can go right to their dashboard and see in real time all the moving parts of their project throughout, however many months those projects might be moving on for. So if we go back to the project, I do want to call out something important. The only thing that automatically will publish to the client dashboard is your messaging history with your clients. So nothing else, for example, the timeline. This won't automatically share. You'll notice that up here, the share function for the timeline is currently on. So I actually have it set up for my client to see it. That's the little blue icon, for any team members who are using this project to be able to see it, as well as the subcontractor that I've invited to this project. If we need to adjust these settings, so let's say you're like still working on the timeline, not ready to share it with the client yet, you can click share, and then it'll tell you all the access. Team members default do have access to the timeline if you, in the team member permissions, allow them to have access to a timeline. From here, I can remove access though for the client for now. So if I were to do that, but leave everything else as is, when I go back to preview the client dashboard, you'll notice that the timeline is removed now. So you have complete control. Again, other than messages, everything else is dependent on what you share with the client through the dashboard section. I'd like to give a quick touch base on daily logs. It's something that you can share to the client dashboard as well, but these are also, again, things you need to share. They're not automatically shared, but this is an excellent way to notate and have in writing what happened that day on the project. And whether this is shared, like this note, for example, is shared with everybody, my client, team members, and subs. This one I've only shared with my team because I'm not ready to share it with the client yet. But I did make a note, met with Bob today, need to follow up next week once I have the quote for the custom cabinets that he's looking for his kitchen remodel. So this is something notated that is good internal information for me. And once I'm ready to share that with the client, maybe I have a long detailed list of notes from a meeting we just had and I want to share that. That's something you can also make accessible on the dashboard. Another important call out about daily logs. Let's say there's an incident that happens on the job site and you want to notate it for insurance purposes. This is a great way to have in writing what detailed out what actually happened on that day for that particular job, just in case you need to go back and reference it in the future. So great tool. You can add in attachments, images, you can change the text. We're always trying to enrich this text and options throughout Houzz Pro as much as possible. So we've added a lot of these great features. And then you can also delete this daily log from here. So you'll notice on the dashboard right now, if I go back, under daily logs, there is only going to be the one that I shared initially, not the one that we just looked at, where I said we need to get the quote for his cabinets. So that one, once I do make it shareable, would be visible in this section as well. Perfect. And now I'm going to get into time and expenses. So a great way to be able to track your time you're spending on projects, as well as the expenses that you're actually putting into the project that you want to bill to the client. You're not going to see that within the projects view, but you will see it if you go under manage, again, the top menu here, and click on time and expenses. And this is going to be on the same page, but you can toggle between time or expenses. I have a lot of time that I've worked on for other projects, but we can create a new one. So we'd go to new entry, and then you always want to assign it to a current project. So let's say we're Bob Ross, a team member. So I do want to call out for the admin of the account. So typically the business owner, whoever is the main email on the Houzz profile, it's going to show up instead of your name. It will show up as your business name, and then your team members will show up with their name. So just to call that out, this is me as the admin of the Houzz Pro account. So I'm going to assign this to myself. There is some services that are here. You can also enter your own. So start typing to create a new service. Let's say researching cabinet options. And this was time I spent doing that. And then once you type it in, you want to make sure you select create. Now we'll add that for you. My hourly rate, say, is $60 an hour. It's both taxable and billable. This was today. And then I was working on this for about 2 hours. So you can add that in. And then description, you can add in as anything you'd like here, as much as you'd like. You can also upload files. So if you had a receipt or something else you wanted to include with this entry, was talking to cabinet vendors to find maple cabinets. So again, whatever your notes look like for this entry, and then click save. And that will add it right to the top here. Here it is right here. And you'll notice I can actually highlight everything. If I wanted to, for let's say all projects, I can also filter by the type of project. So maybe I'll do that first. Let me go to Bob Ross's project. So for him, I have 2 time entries. One of them I've actually already invoiced. So if I scroll over here, you can see that this has been invoiced. This is linked to that invoice. So when I highlight all projects, it's not going to highlight that one since the invoice was already made. But on this one, if you do want to create an invoice, you would click the check mark and then click create invoice from there. And that will create that invoice for you, which again is, as you learned yesterday in the estimate section, beautifully professionally branded, has all your details as well as your client details. And here's the information on the time that I tracked. And you can invoice this directly to your client, add a payment schedule, terms and conditions, notes, and then send that off to your client to approve and then to pay. All right, I'm going to go back to time and expenses here. Okay, so we've done time. I mentioned you can filter by project. You can also filter by team member, so who's assigned to that time or expense, dates, and then service as well, based on all the services that you've entered for time. Second is expenses. So great way to track. I have a few examples in here, but like I purchased paint for the kitchen remodel, or I purchased new molding, like whatever it might be that you have expensed and you want to end up invoicing that to your client. So we'll do the same thing as we did for time, but you can do new entry here. And again, I'll assign this to Bob Ross, myself. Service, I have some options here. I'll just do the purchase paint, but similar to time, you can type it in and create a new expense from there. And then $50, because that's what it cost last time. You can change this though. Let's say this time it's $100, taxable and billable quantity. So let's say I only bought like 1 can. That would be a very expensive paint, but let's see, Behr paint for kitchen remodel. And this will be a great place to upload the receipt from wherever you purchased it from. And then save. And again, similar to what we just did for time, if you're looking to invoice that once it's ready, you just click on it, create invoice here, and you can see I have several invoices for other projects, and that will create that invoice for that expense as well. A couple really cool tools outside of that is you can export also. So if you're looking to export into an Excel sheet, you see it just downloaded for me. So you can have that on your computer saved to your files for the specific project or for all projects if that's how you have it filtered. You can also manage services. So these are the services I have so far. If I want to add a new one or delete one or edit them, I can do that through the pencil icon, the delete button, which I would need to highlight the service first, and I need to link it. That's why it's not allowing me to do it, but this will allow you to adjust those. And then if we go to time, same thing. I'll be able to manage these from here.
Hey, Elise, I just had a question about receipt scanning on the mobile app. I'm pretty sure we've got time and expense on mobile right now. And so you could theoretically take a picture of that receipt that you were just kind of talking about, upload it from your phone, and then it would show up in Houzz Pro if you log in from your desktop.
Exactly. Yes, you can absolutely do it from mobile. And that leads me to a really good point. This stopwatch tool up in the top right, this is for tracking your time, and you can have several stopwatches going at once. I believe you can have up to 3 going at the same time. So if you're in your account and you have a team member that's also working on a different project, you can have those going simultaneously. The stopwatch is also on the app. So that is a great way if you're driving around in between projects or you're driving around in between like stores for one particular project. It's a great way to track your time on the go and then be able to create that invoice from there once you're at home and on your desktop, and you can invoice your client for that time spent that day. So I'll show you what this looks like on desktop. If we start the stopwatch, again, it'll ask you for what project it's attached to, the service, the hourly rate, and then whatever your description is. And then you'll start that and you'll see the timer clicking right there. Now, if you wanted to log time, that would log that time entry for you. You could also delete it if you started it too early or on accident, and we can add another stopwatch. And I believe we can add 3 at a time. Oh, I'm wrong. You can add more than 3. So you can have multiple team members and yourself in here running time, whether it's when you're out and about and on the go in between jobs, or if you're sitting down at your computer to do stuff for the project at the end of the day. And then once you're ready, again, you can either log the time or just delete it. But you'll always see the timer going once the stopwatch is enabled. Any questions on this piece?
Elise, we did have one about the previous export feature that you were talking about. Mario's wondering, when you're exporting, does it export everything that you have in time and expenses, or could you export something related to a specific project?
Great question. So right now, let's say I'm in time, and if I highlight everything here and click export, it'll export everything that I have checked off. But if you're only interested in exporting for a specific project, I would recommend filtering by project, and I'll use Bob Ross as an example. So that way, when I go to export, it will only export Bob Ross's information for time, and same thing for expenses. All right. I love time and expenses. It's a great way for you guys to not lose out on, you can go multiple hours working on something and not realize like, oh, when did I start? I didn't track it. I'm just going to guess. And that can mean you're losing out on profit on the project and not charging your client appropriately. So I think it's a great way to make sure you're covering your bases and getting paid for the work that you're doing and spending all that time on the client's project. Under projects, again, we're going to navigate back here. So under all projects, we are going to go over the timeline first, and then I'll get into tasks. So this is your full page of all of your projects that you have going. Your projects are considered active projects that are won clients, so not potential clients. Those are going to be in your lead section. These are all active projects that you're working on today. So for the timeline, you're going to see on this page, the timeline feature in the left menu. This is for every project you have a timeline set up for today. And we're in the Gantt chart view, but if I go to the calendar view, again, just kind of preference on how you like to view it, you can see per each project what the timeline is and how those objectives and dates might overlap with each other depending on how many projects you have going at once. So let me take a step back here. So again, this is your all projects timeline. If you want to look at your individual timelines, you can either click from here and that will take you to that project, or you can just navigate back to that project. like continue using Bob Ross as an example. And when you're here, you're going to be able to see the timeline on the left-hand side and click right into this. Again, this is specifically for Bob Ross's project, not for any other project. So right now we're in the calendar view. Again, you can switch back to the Gantt view. And from here, lots of really cool new adjustments this year to the timeline. One, which is one of my favorites, is being able to add so much detail about each of these events. So if I click on one of these events here, which I'm doing pre-construction as an example, you can see the title, the location, so you can change the address based on your client's location, a description, so what you need done during this phase of the project, the status, so you can update this to completed once you're done. If I were to do that, it will mark it checked as completed there on the timeline visible. I'm going to change it back to open though. Assignee, so great way you can assign this. Again, this is based on like who's shared on this timeline, but my client is currently shared on it. I'm shared on it as the owner of the business, and my team member is also shared on it. So great way for anyone involved with the project to see all the moving parts visually on the timeline. Another important thing to call out is the time. So if it's an all-day event, usually that means it's running through multiple days, but let's say it's just one day, you can uncheck this, and this will allow me to say for September 22nd, let's say from midnight to 11 p.m., that's the time frame of what I'm working on for this event. I can change this, of course, but if I don't need it all day, I can uncheck that and it'll allow me to set up those options. I'm going to change the date back here to, I believe, the 26th. So you can adjust that. And then it'll tell you the working days as well of how many days for this event are going by during the work week. And one thing I really like, the color coding is great, so you can see the differences between those stages of the project, but you can also create dependencies. So what that means is phase 2 here, plans approved by the city. I cannot start this phase of the project until pre-construction is completed. So you can say this can begin after nothing because it's the first event in the series. But next would be this event, again, has to end before I can move through to the plans approved by the city stage. So great way to stay on track and make sure that you're completing tasks that need to be completed before moving on to the next phase. And then from here, options would be to delete this entire entry. You can remove it completely. And then you'll notice as we go through each of these stages, all those details are visible. You can change the dates. And now this is a good example of dependencies, both pre and post. This cannot begin before pre-construction ends, and it can't, construction can't begin before this phase ends. So they're all dependent on each other to make sure, again, we're following a smooth process throughout the project and we're checking the box along the way with what we need to have done first. All right, another great option within the timeline. You can add an item directly from here. Again, I would just exit out of this. You can delete it too. So let's say you added it by accident. Go back to options and delete entire item. Say, yes, I'm sure. And then what Brendan was alluding to previously is being able to export. This is a brand new feature. You can sync your calendar. So like your Google Calendar, for example, but exporting allows you to export the full Gantt view. You can also change it to the current view. So it's just dependent on what part of the timeline you actually want to show. And the file format would either be PNG or PDF. If it's a really long timeline, it may display or print over multiple pages, but this is something that's brand new and allows you to export it so you can print it out or send a copy via email if you'd like, or even add it as a file on the project to your client beyond just having it in a digital format.
I know for some job sites, like for compliance reasons, I think you need to have a timeline posted, and that's what we heard from pros, and that's why we want to add that functionality in. Elise, I got a question for you. So if we have someone doing sub work for like electrical, for example, could I assign that work to a sub from this screen?
Yes. So you could go to, let's say, pre-construction. You know what? I can actually just add a new item. Let's do that within here. From the main calendar page, I'll just say electrical work. And when you have the assignee here, sub is not listed here. Actually, no, I'm sorry. My team member is listed here. So you can assign it to the team member, but they'll be able to see the timeline through the share tool. So the subcontractor either does have access or has no access. So you'd be able to share that with your subs as well. So again, sorry, I kind of workaround said that, but this menu is for the client, yourself, and your team members. But if you wanted to also share with subs, you would be able to share through the share function on the left.
And then if we had like any delays with that electrical work, we could just drag that on the timeline to make that adjustment, right?
Correct. I'll just save this really quick. So that one is here. So yes, you can drag this and it'll change the dates. You'll notice now it changes it to September 27th. You can also expand it as well. So if it's going to go over multiple days, let's say we end it here, that will also adjust to October 2nd based on the number of working days. And again, you can set dependencies on these as well. So great way to keep everyone on the same page, because there's so many moving parts with a larger construction, remodel, home build project that it's great to have everyone from you, your project manager, your electrical contractor, and your client all understanding the moving parts and making sure people are available or that your client's home on the days that you need them to be there because they have access to this. So that's a good point. I took access away from the client before. I do want to re-grant them access to the timeline. So you can either grant them detailed access or basic access, depending on what you want them to see. So for this client, longtime client of mine, I'm going to go ahead and give them detailed access. And then again, when you preview the client dashboard, you'll see the timeline is back and they'll be able to take a look at that at a glance here. And they also should have the option to switch to calendar view if they want. All right. I love the timeline. Great way to keep everyone on the same page.
It is, especially if you like clients that want all that detail, like when's this project gonna be done? Like when are we starting different phases? You can give that to them. And the thing I like is if you actually go and use the dependencies and there is a delay, it moves everything else on your timeline. And so your client will see right away that there was a delay. Here's who was responsible, but it gives them that visibility. And so they are always, on top of it and they know what's going on, which is really nice.
Exactly. Yes, I can imagine the domino effect of like, delayed cabinets and then delayed flooring. And that just continues to push everything back. So yes, that's a great call out. Dependencies are an excellent way to move everything with those delays. So you don't have to constantly update like each item. Okay, tasks. One of a really awesome feature within Houzz Pro, similar to the timeline, like keeping everybody on the same page. So there's a couple of places for tasks that I want to call out. One would be, not the Houzz Pro homepage. On the All Projects page, you have your task center here, as well as your master timeline. So if you're looking at tasks, this is going to show every task for every project that I have so far set up in Houzz Pro. So I could search, I could sort by due date, newest, name, or project. So project might be helpful if you're trying to just look at one client. Again, project list here. These are all of your active projects in Houzz Pro, who it's assigned to, whether it's a client or a team member, and then the reporter. So who actually reported on this task and created this task in Houzz Pro. So one way to create a task is through this page. You can add new task here. And it's going to ask you for the name. So let's say, I'll keep going with that electrical example. So follow up with electrician is the task. And it's open currently. The other option would be done once it's completed. I'm going to assign this to my friend Bob Ross here. I'm going to assign this isn't on my client to follow up, but there may be tasks where you tell your client, hey, before we meet next time, can you research like the type of cabinets that you're interested in or the type of flooring you're thinking of? So you can actually give your client a task as well. You can assign to subcontractors too. So in this instance, I am going to assign it to my subcontractor here. Say, need to follow up on moving electrical for new dishwasher, pretend I can spell, and fridge. So let's say this client is kind of flipping everything around and we need to move electrical and probably plumbing on top of that. You would save this and then that'll add it to the main task page. where you'll notice there's a card view, which is what you see here. It kind of looks like a card across the screen. You can also change it to a list view if you like it this way better. And it does link to each project, so you can click into the project from here, or you can go back to the projects menu, recent projects, pull up that project you're looking at, and you won't see tasks on the menu on the left, but you will see the option to create a new task here. If you scroll down on the overview page, here are the tasks for this particular project. So if I'm looking at, these are the completed ones I've done so far. This one is a little bit overdue, so I could delete this or I could edit it, but I am going to mark this one as completed as well. And if I wanted to, I can drag and drop the order of these so you can customize the view for yourself. I'm going to go ahead and complete that one. And now I have follow-up with electrician that I know is a task that's due. Oh, and you know what? I missed a very important step. Make sure you add the due date. Otherwise, it's just a task that's kind of floating out there. So let's say this is a very urgent matter for me. I need to get on this right away. I'm going to say this is due by Monday. That way, for my sub, they know, okay, it's already Thursday. We need to make sure we're connecting and we're getting on top of this so we can move the project forward as quickly as possible. And then again, you can share to a timeline as well. So I'm going to share this on our timeline and save. And that's been edited. We have the follow-up and the due date added. And if we go back to the timeline for this particular project, we should see, here we go. There's my task right there. It's a little easier to see actually in the Gantt view, but you'll be able to see if I have to zoom out a little too far. I'll go back to the calendar view. Either way, it shows on both, but calendar view will show you that day that you have that event. And this is from May. So if you find yourself moving back in time, just toggle to the menu and you can select the current month. And there's my follow-up right there. And that way the electrician, my subcontractor, gets that notification. They can go in and complete that task once it's done, and I'll be notified as well. So great way to have everybody on the same page. Again, lots of teams you work with, people that aren't necessarily like within your company, but you work with a lot. So again, great way to make sure we're moving things along quickly and everyone's organized and on the same page.
Well, this is nice because you don't have to keep all those details in your brain, or like me,
Yes.
like I'm notorious for writing things down on pieces of paper, but you don't necessarily need to do that now. I mean, you could, I think you just from your phone too, right? Like I could just
Correct.
create a task list. I could always be assured that I could go back to that page you were just showing us to see everything that I have related to different projects, and then see it on the timeline too. Like that's really nice.
Yep. And I just was confirming it's not in this menu, but again, it would be in your all projects page. So you can look there and see at a glance all the tasks you have open for all the different projects you have running. But I am guilty of that as well. PostIt notes kind of all over the place. So saving some trees and also staying a little more organized. And you're the only one that can see a PostIt note, but everyone you've invited to the project or made accessible to the project will be able to see those tasks. So could be something that's like, hey, we haven't heard back from the electrician and it's Monday at 9 a.m. Like maybe we should follow up. It's a great way to create that kind of accountability as well. Reports are the last thing, but very important, especially we're getting into Q4, the end of the year. Tax season is upon us. So reports are super helpful to make sure you have all that squared away so you can file your taxes come January. Under Manage, you're going to see financial reports here. This is going to take you to the main page of our reports, which there are several different reports that you can utilize. The payments report here, this is detailed for incoming and outgoing payments, amounts that are invoiced, and then remaining liability on those documents. So if you view this report, that's going to pull up all of my information. Again, total amount that I've received, total that I've invoiced, and I don't currently have any liability. You can filter by date. So if you're looking at a certain time frame, you can also filter by payment type, whether they paid you online via ACH or credit card. Again, we do have online payments you should set up within Houzz Pro, or manually if they paid you in some other way, but you recorded it within Houzz Pro. And you can also do it by project or by lead. Interesting to do it by lead because that's technically still a project you're going after to confirm and finalize, but you may have sent them an estimate that they paid and you're kind of starting that process. So you have both. And you can also look at active projects or archive projects. So an archive project would be something that you've already completed the project. So you archive it, you're done with it. But if you needed to pull reports for, again, tax reasons or other reasons, you can still do that by selecting archive projects. And you can also look by income and expenses, which I only have one expense so far for a client. But let's say I'm looking at, I'll just do by project and I'll look at Bob Ross here. And that will filter all of my invoices or estimates or essentially financial documents where I have invoiced and collected payment. Filter back to reports here. The menu here is great, but you have those functions, so you can just go back a step as well. Next two reports are for transactions. So incoming transactions by project and then outgoing transactions by project as well. So again, these are all grouped by project. You can customize the report based on incoming documents for incoming transactions. And then for outgoing transactions, it will be by build or non-build for purchase orders. So let's view the incoming transactions report first. Great filters still at the top. Again, date range, a project or a lead. And I'll just filter by our friend Bob Ross again. And apply changes. You can also look by type. So if you're only looking at invoices or maybe only estimates, change orders and retainers, they're all there as well. Again, clients, active or archived. Grouping, you can group by certain things. So by day of the week of the month of the year, you have lots of options here. And then you can change your column settings. So what you're actually showing on this report. Do you want to include the date it was created, the issue date for the invoice, the total balance? Again, you can toggle these on and off depending on what you want on this report. And then you can export as well. So this is one of the reports, both the incoming transaction report and the outgoing, that you can export it to Excel if you need to. And I'll do the same thing on that other report. So again, if you hover over the little ellipses, it'll always tell you the previous page that you were on. So I'll go in here. And outgoing looks very similar. I only have one here, but I could also export this if I need to. And then show totals is what this arrow up to the right is. So if I wanted to show the totals at the very bottom, I can do that. And I love that there's linked documents in here. So you not only can see what this was and the amounts, but here's the actual linked documents from this invoice, whether it's a purchase order, an estimate, again, however you created that invoice, it'll reflect the initial document there. Go back one more time to our last set of reports here, which are general timekeeping, and you can do that both, like the time and expense we just reviewed. If you want to report for by team member, so how much time was billed for a specific team member in your company, or if you want to look by project. So let's break this down. This is also a report you can export to Excel. So again, the only report was the first one that doesn't export, but the other four do. And then from here, customizing, just as we've done on the others, you can show the totals at the bottom. So total time invoiced and the amount billable, and then export that to Excel from here. And then similar, last one is time billing by project, which again will allow you to group by specific project. So I've got Bob Ross here, I've got another kitchen remodel I was working on, and then I've got my totals, which if you don't want the totals, you just toggle this off and that'll take it off for you and it won't show it on the Excel export. I do want to call out that we are working on a tax liability report. So very excited when that launches. Great way to see all of like the tax information within your documents also. So that is something that is coming soon to Houzz Pro.
It's nice having all these reports. I mean, like you were saying for tax season, if you tracked it all in Houzz Pro, just coming in here and it's like, yep, I'm going to export all this. And then if you have like an accountant, it's like, here you go.
Exactly.
What all the information you need. Thank you.
Right. Since it is getting close to that time, a good thing you could do is invite your bookkeeper or your accountant, whoever you might work with for the financial side of your business and tax purposes as a team member into your Houzz Pro account. You can give them access. I'll show you where that is really quick since we're on that topic. If you go to the gear in your Houzz Pro dashboard and you go to Teams, this is going to show you all of the team members that you have invited to your account. So right now I have somebody who's pending. They haven't accepted the invite yet. I have myself, and then I have my subs. So here Let's say for my team member who coincidentally has the same name as me, if I wanted to edit their permissions, you just click on the 3 ellipses. You can deactivate them or remove them. Let's say they're no longer with your company, or you can edit their permissions. So from here, you can see that this team member of mine is able to access leads. They can communicate with clients. They can create estimates and takeoffs, edit them and send them. Within projects, they are able to communicate with clients, send messages through that messaging tool, do invoices and change orders, again, estimates and takeoffs, purchase orders, but I'm limiting them on QuickBooks integration, being able to access reports and run reports, and being able to do time, expenses, and rates. So in the example of inviting your bookkeeper, maybe you want to have these permissions checked off so they can assist you within Houzz Pro when it comes to tax season. And then visual tools is the last permission currently, which is about accessing the floor plans and our mood board design tools. So great way to expand or limit what specific team members have access to within Houzz Pro. I think those were all the topics for today, but I would be remiss by not mentioning the help menu. It is a wonderful resource. If you do happen to have a dedicated account manager, under your help menu, you'll see their name, their email, and a place to book a time with them on their calendar. You also have our help center here. So great resource to be able to look up tons of help articles, really great videos. It's broken down here by feature too. So if you're looking at marketing, the floor planner, you want to get more details on overall project management, great place to look to find help on really popular features within Houzz Pro. We've also got video tutorials through our YouTube. A lot of these are through our YouTube channel, but these break it down by type of feature as well. So if you're looking at, let's say, finances, that's going to take you down to how to create an invoice, how to issue an invoice, payment methods and online payments, financial reports. There's a great video there, logging a payment. So lots of really great tools that our marketing team has spent a great deal of time to make sure they're clear and easy to watch, but also just help kind of navigate you through Houzz Pro and all the different tools you have access to. Webinars, which would include this webinar. This is being recorded. So once we're all done with webinars, they'll be added to this page, and our Learn page, which has a ton of resources from testimonials to vendors you can look for. So just a lot of research you can do for your own assistance. Beyond that, there's my team, the support team that can assist you. We have our 800 number here. You can submit a support ticket or a case to us, which is via email, so we can help you that way. Register for office hours, which is something we do consistently now, and it's been a great resource to come and do a session like this, but have that live Q&A as well. You can give us feedback. We love feedback. I know at the very beginning, we were talking about the floor planner. We've introduced so many new features to the floor plan and really throughout Houzz Pro based on feedback from our professional community. So if you see something that would add value for you and make your life easier in utilizing this workflow, please feel free to submit feedback to us and our product team. And then service providers, we have anything from trying to find a bookkeeper, agencies, purchasing agents, or a business coach. And then there's our pro-to-pro discussions section as well. So if you need help, there's lots of resources. Please feel free to reach out to our team or utilize any of these tools that are available to you. And I think that's all I had, unless there are any other questions. Happy to answer those.
Yeah, folks, we're at your disposal. So if you have any questions, just let us know. Thank you, Elise. That demo was awesome.
Good.
I've got a question for you around, so we would learn about the QuickBooks integration day one, and we were talking about that briefly. Do you know, do time and expenses sync to QuickBooks with our QuickBooks integration, or is it just when I'm invoicing something, that's what's syncing?
It would be when you invoice the time or expense, and that invoice needs to be issued to sync to QuickBooks.
Got it.
And if you guys I know we went over this day one, but if you need a refresher on where integrations is, the gear is your best friend. It has all the features of Houzz Pro and where to find them, but it would be under integrations here. And there's several different toggles to go through to set up your integration with your QuickBooks account. There's step-by-step instructions. There's a YouTube video, setting up your tax agency, lots of help articles here to help you get integrated that way.
Thanks again, Elise. Thank you for the demo. That was awesome.
Thank you.
And that was a whirlwind getting through all 3 days. There's a lot of good content. So I hope everyone enjoyed it, and we will see you on the next webinar.